date with today's front pages on this Monday morning. We begin with the Mail.
It's focusing on Prince Harry's interview with ITV's Tom Bradby, in which he claimed the royal family was complicit in Meghan's suffering.
The Sun also focuses on Harry. Matter of fact, I think he's everywhere. The claim that he never called royals racist, that's open to debate, of course.
Recollections may vary.
Yeah, and the Express covers the interviews as well, and the chink of optimism for nurses as the Prime Minister considers a deal to end industrial action. Here's the Mirror. It's one rule for the Rishi as Sunak faces pressure to reveal whether he uses a private GP. What's the big deal? Look, the point is, yes, he probably does. Is he threatening the National Health Service by doing that? No. He's taking pressure off the National Health Service to do that. I just put it out there. People who use private medicine, I've had 2 stays in the National Health Service. Care was amazing, fantastic, no difficulty. Often I find private medicine not joined up, not the left hand doesn't know what the right hand is doing with it. But you know what? If you can pay for it, if you want to pay for it, if you're taking pressure off the NHS, why is everybody getting their knickers in a twist?
For a lot of people, it's part of their work package. For us, we get it as part of our deal here. However, I have to say, and this is what Labour would say, it actually does create a bit of a 2-tier system, because those who go to see a consultant privately, if they need to have the op or whatever, will then go back into the health service and bump other people down the list quite often. So it does push people down who haven't got access to it. So that is the argument against the private system. And I can see the Prime Minister, just through being reluctant to admit or to say, suggests he does use private healthcare, doesn't it?
Otherwise, of course he does.
Of course he's a billionaire.
Yeah, of course he does.
And he's busy.
Anyway, through the papers, let's go through the newspapers. We're doing that in the company of Don Neeson this morning and the man that is, the legend that is Chris Akapusi. You hear that laughter, he brightens us up already this Monday morning. Chris, and both of you, I want to ask both of you, you've got various newspapers, Harry's all over them. What do you think, Chris?
I thought it was nice finally to hear the Prince talk from his own perspective, and I can't wait to read the book. I really want to get a context to everything that we are seeing.
As a soldier, as a former soldier, what do you think of the idea he talks about he could possibly have killed 25 Taliban?
It seemed strange when I first heard it put out there, but I saw a clip on the internet which put it in context, and he was saying there that war's a horrible thing, and that he, when he went out there, he had to sort of step back and not see the human casualties and actually be able to put them into some sort of context to allow him to do what he needed to do as a soldier. I would never talk about numbers.
But not supposed to. It's a huge faux pas from a military point of view.
I mean, not many soldiers would do that, but I think his point was that being in a Apache helicopter, having a computer, he was able to register how many people's lives he took.
Well, Dawn, can we talk then about what the Mirror are running? They're saying, I didn't say the royal family was racist. It's always also the front of the Sun today. But, you know, as we were saying in the opener to this, recollections may vary
just a little bit. That was a figment of our imaginations, obviously. Mass
Well, no. He's saying that he didn't say the family was racist, and he talked about unconscious bias. You know, I don't want to be on here as a defender of Harry, but we've got to be very, very careful. When I saw the interview yesterday, he kept on picking up the interviewer, just saying, what do you mean that? Define your terms. Because, and I think this is the challenge, is that lots of things have been taken out of context and a spin has been put on them. He's saying, no, they're not racist. He's part of the family himself, but he himself pulled himself up because he was unconscious bias. And the unconscious bias was a preliminary to...
Oh, it's also Los Angeles, California.
Yes, I agree.
I mean, he's obviously been indoctrinated with all this thing, so everything he does, he's got to feel guilty about it.
Yeah, you're very much right about the Californianisation of the Prince, definitely, and that America and United Kingdom are separated by the common language, but completely different cultures, and you can see he's taken on his wife, country and culture.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying, that he talks about unconscious bias, but in that Oprah interview, they 100% said that somebody in the royal family had questioned the colour of their child child's skin.
Yes.
And then Oprah Winfrey's response was absolute shock and disgust and
Yeah.
horror. And quite frankly, there wasn't a person around the world who didn't say
No, but he himself,
And
sorry, but he himself then said, look, being from a mixed race family, I know that this is something that my children are mixed race, and even myself, is my daughter children, are they going to be dark, or are they going to be
Why
light?
did Oprah Winfrey respond like that?
I can't ask for Winfrey.
And the thing is, Chris, I mean, I completely understand what you're saying, but as Isabel rightly said, in that Oprah interview, neither Meghan nor Harry corrected Oprah's response. Oprah was quite clearly, oh my God, that's such a racist thing to say. As you say, Chris, everyone questions what a baby's going to look like.
Yes.
Hair colour, eye colour, whatever. But, I mean, they didn't correct Oprah's response, and that was what... And they haven't done it since, and they've allowed everybody to speculate, which member of the family said it, and that hasn't been clarified again. I mean, so much so that, as you say, the Queen had to say recollections may vary, and Harry and William himself had to say, we are not a racist family. But they haven't corrected that implication. And then to be fair to Tom Bradbury, the look on his face in that interview last night, when Harry said, I'd never said they were racist, I mean, he goes, oh, but, and then Harry went on at length to explain in very California, as you say, Eamonn, the difference between our unconscious bias and racism. And this is a bloke that literally wore a Nazi uniform and didn't think that was wrong.
And called somebody the P word in his regiment when he was at Sandhurst.
And used a derogatory...
A racist term.
Absolutely. And used also...
Yeah, he's not a racist.
No, and used...
So many people I was with people reading that story, that P word story, and they actually had to go, what does it mean? You're trying to fill in the blanks what they meant, and then you've realised what it was. So I'm not saying that people deliberately set out to use these words or these terms, or but yes, of
But
course.
I do think it is important to hear Chris's perspective on this, because there is so much noise and outrage against Prince Harry, and I do think we do need to hear the other side of other people's views, because there are people out there like you who think that he's perfectly fine to.
Yeah, no. So I'm definitely not Team Harry, Team William. I wish he wasn't out there. I understand what he's doing, in as much as he's going back for his backstory. He seems to have taken on the mantle of his mother and trying to...
His mother would be turning in her grave.
Well, again, you see, oh yes, okay. So the antagonist...
Boys? What do you mean are boys? I think William has come out shining out of this. The fact that he's Mr. Commando Apache helicopter pilot, the fact that he smacked him and landed him in the dog bowl, I felt absolutely... Did you not think, William, well done?
Well, I don't think William well done, but I think that brothers have to... I
have 4 other brothers. If I was to sit and write what they did to me and I did to them and whatever over the...
But not at your age now. So I wasn't there, and I don't really care as much as... you're right, brothers have rucks and tumbles. Right? You do. I've got a brother, we had rucks and tumbles, but we had rucks and tumbles when we were kids and teenagers. It's a little bit more, alarming, challenging to think that you have fisticuffs, but I do know you get upset with each other. And I don't think it's... behoves any of us to fall on sides Team Harry, Team William.
But you can't help it when he's constantly coming out on the airwaves. You can't help but make an opinion based on what he said.
Well, right now he's
riddled with contradictions. You can't help but think, well, hang on a minute, because there he is, he's being asked by Tom Bradbury, what do you think your brother and your dad is going to make of all of this? And what would you say to him? Well, I'm not going to tell you because that's a private matter. Well, hang on a minute, why is that matter private? And yet you've told every single detail of you didn't want stepmother and Camilla. You thought she was a villain. You thought she was dangerous. You thought Camilla was hormonal, this, that, and the other. The allegations coming left, right, and centre, but that conversation was private. You can't help but take a side.
I think I completely agree with Chris. I mean, it's very like Brexit now, isn't it? You're Team William or you're Team Harry. I mean, Chris and I had this conversation outside. We're not on either side.
I think there's probably wrongs on all sides.
The whole situation is incredibly sad. I think it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other, and you just wish Diana was still around to bash their heads together, no matter how old they are now, and just say, just sort this out and stop washing your dirty laundry in public.
Yeah, well, I think the Prince of Wales has been fantastic in upholding the tradition of don't explain and don't complain. And so I think Eamonn was right, he'll come out of it very, very well. I just hope and pray that down the road, the two brothers do become best buddies and closest of friends.
It's not going to happen, is it? Can we move on, just because I think we are going to talk so much about this royal story this morning. I just want to get some other stories into the papers. This is on the front of the Eye, Chris, about a quarter of adults going to A&E because they simply can't get hold of their GP. Now, this is something I've seen amongst mothers at the weekend. There's been all this scare around Strep A and WhatsApp groups with the school and things saying, I can't get hold of a doctor, anyone have an out of hours contact, where's the best place to go? And they've ended up going to A&E with a situation that could have been dealt with by a GP, but they simply couldn't get one.
Yeah, exactly. So basically it just highlights the need to recruit and have more GPs. They're saying that the demographic 18 to 24 are more likely, 43% more likely to go to A&E with a challenge if they don't see their GP, as opposed to my demographic, 55 to 64 being 16%. But yeah, look, we have got a challenge. They're saying that they would believe that Labour have got a better strategy and more likely to have a plan than the current government. 34% say they trust Labour over, as opposed to 50% the Tory government. This doesn't even get sorted, and it's...
The problem is Labour haven't actually explained what their plan is.
Well, exactly. Well, if you're quiet...
It won't be any worse than the existing plan.
No, which is a non-plan.
Yeah, but I mean, this is a system that is broken in terms of being
totally.
a general practitioner. So, as Chris says, why are we not encouraging the right type of people? Why do people not want to become GPs? The incentives obviously aren't there to do that. And the way that GPs, Chris, I think, have a separate contract that they're freelance. Why aren't they just staff within the NHS?
Yeah. I mean, so they're overworked and underpaid. If you're a junior GP, you have many hours. But I think, you know, first and foremost, if you're GP, your first 5-10 years dedicated to the National Health Service, so you get a lot more people in there. 7 million people
like
are
a
waiting.
Military solution. If you want to be a pilot,
exactly.
Whatever, you're indentured, aren't you?
Yeah.
You have to be in the RAF for so many years before you can go on.
Or if the military pay for your university education, you've got 5 years you should dedicate as an officer.
So we should do that for GPs,
100%.
But would that be a deterrent? I mean, would people say, I don't want to work for the NHS for 5 years after I qualify or whatever?
No, because you're getting your university
exactly. You're getting university costs paid for, and then 5 years later, you can go private and earn a tremendous amount of money. Because again, what will probably happen eventually is that you get GPs being, is it locum? Where they get paid to come back in and work back in NHS. So
can I just play devil's advocate here? A lot of people watching and listening today will be going, right, okay, well, I can't see my GP. They work 9 till 5. Some of them still close for lunch. They don't want to work weekends. They're not there when people really need them. And as we know,
there's not enough of them.
There's not enough of them.
I don't think they're shirking their work. I just don't think
I'm not having a go at GPs. I'm not saying, I'm just playing devil's advocate. But a lot of people watching will be going, I haven't seen my GP for a long time. I've had to pay to go private because I can't get the treatment I need. And a lot of GPs are on £100,000 a year.
Oh, come on.
No.
Come on.
I'm just saying they are, Eamonn.
A lot of journalists are on £100,000 a year, you know.
Present company accepted. But I mean, a lot of people watching will be saying that, Eamonn. They are quite well paid compared to a lot of people.
But it's started for 9 years.
7 years or so.
I'm not saying that is right or wrong.
Saying that, you know, people work in the city, people work much less noble professions than that. I do think that we should laud GPs. We should encourage people.
I totally agree. But I also think there's an awful lot of people out there who have been in a terrible situation. One story this weekend, a man who had to use his life savings of £18,000 to pay privately for his little girl to get medical treatment because he couldn't actually get treatment initially via his GP. He had to go privately to get her initial diagnosis. A lot of people are very frustrated.
Okay, and a lot of people are very grateful when they get one and they need one when they're sick or whatever. But you know, while your health's there, you don't think about it when your health's not there. It's a whole new ball game. And we're